What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you one of the budget decks thanks to the Mega Tins of 2023, and that is of course Exosisters. Now this is missing one important card in the Mega Tins, which is of course Magnificat, and that is about a £15 card at the moment. However, the rest of the deck has been maintained on a budget, and I feel you could very easily build this deck the same way that you would do by buying 3 structure decks and then upgrading in certain areas. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. So you start off with the most important Exosister, and that is of course Martha. Now luckily Martha and all of the main deck sisters and spells and even the trap cards got a reprint. So you can probably pick up a Exosister core online from different vendors for like 30 quid, which is absolutely insane. And that will include like 3 of all of the extra deck monsters apart from Magnificat, and then 3 of all the main decks, and they'll all be in high rarity. We've then of course got triple Exorcist Elise. Now obviously this is the one that is needed for Martha, which is why you're maxing out on it. Plus it is the only one that if you control an Exorcist you get to special summon it for free, whereas you get other cards like Stella which let you special summon a Exorcist monster from the hand during the main phase. So the difference is this is an activated effect on the field that can be stopped with imperms and veilers, whereas Elise isn't, it just special summons itself down as an extender. We've then got 2 Sofio. Now this is a little bit more prominent in the this version because its draw effect is actually really important, whereas if you're playing Pot of Prosperity you kind of lock yourself out of that effect. We've then got the one Irene as well. So that's it for all of the sisters. Some people might play 3 Sofia, some people might play 3 Stella. I feel that this lineup is perfectly fine. We've then got again a very cheap and budget engine of triple Aritama and double Sakitama. So these all got printed in the Battles of Legend Maze of Memories, I believe it was. And so you can pretty much pick up a set of these. Like I think you could pick up a set of Aritamas for £1 and a set of Sakitamas for £1. And what makes this so good is Martha is an incredibly powerful card, but for the entire turn you can't special summon except Exosisters. And that's where the Aritama and Sakitama come into play because they normal summon themselves as additions rather than special summon. So for those of you that are unaware, Aritama has the ability that if it was normal summon this turn, it gets to add a spirit monster from your deck to the hand. So you get to search out your Sakitama. Sakitama has the effect, you get to reveal it in the hand, and then immediately after this effect resolves, normal summon a spirit monster from the hand, which includes itself. Now, if that wasn't enough, these also make the perfect bridges to get into any of your Exosisters. So the idea behind Exosisters is you want to get to Martha. Martha is just that powerful because on her own, she is a 1 card rank 4, and off of the back of Aritama, that is a 1 card rank 4 as well. So being able to combine those 2 together is absolutely insane because it increases your consistency tenfold. So, how do these make amazing bridges? Well, you play Small World, and what you've got to remember is you reveal any light monster in your deck, as long as it is a level 4. So let's go for, we've opened up Stella, but no other Exosister. We'll reveal Stella. Stella can then, off of the back of Small World, you then reveal Aritama in the deck, and the only thing that they match is the fact that they are level 4s. Their attack stats and defense stats don't match, their attribute don't match, it's light into dark, and it's a themed from a spellcaster. So that will then allow you to use the Aritama to go back to a Martha, because Martha is a spellcaster level 4 and none of the attributes match exactly as they are, which is why these are like the perfect bridges as well as the perfect extenders. Now, what I like about Small World over the Pot of Prosperity, which is pretty much the space that Small World is taking up, is the fact that Small World gets you to a guaranteed monster. If I want Martha, I know I can get to it off of Small World, whereas Pot of Prosperity will not guarantee I'm going to be able to get to it. For the hand traps, you can actually adapt these to your local environment and your availability. But Triple Ash Blossom, I've gone with double Droll and double Imperm. Again, entirely up to you what your local environment is like. Maybe you don't play the Droll, maybe you play Nibiru's, maybe you don't play the Drolls and you play darkworld and no mores. Really is up to you, but you've got a very easy 7-card engine that you can mess around with here and adapt it as you see fit. Speaking of the spells, of course, triple Small World. Now, this is obviously the budget option to Pot of Prosperity. When Prosperity is like £30 to £40 a copy, you can get a Small World playset from anywhere between 10 at the right place, and it has creeped up a little bit to about £15, but that's still a fraction of the price of a Pot of Prosperity. Then, of course, we've got triple Exosister packs. This, again, got reprinted in the Megatins. So when you're getting a core off of any of the vendors, like I said, they'll usually give you frees of everything, so you'll have all that you need. I like to play 2 overlay networks, so shout out to Carl on this one. He's the one that I originally saw play this. I was like, what does this do? And this one came out in Maze of Memories. So I believe the other one, apologies, was the Aritamasakitama are Battles of Legend. So anyway, overlay network. You get to activate one of the following effects. It's a continuous spell card. So you target a face-up monster you control. You special on one monster with the same level from your hand or graveyard in defense. So what's really important about that is in the grind state, you're able to bring back monsters from the graveyard, and it also gives you that ability that should your opponent stop something like a Stellar, you can then still activate Overlay Network and still do the exact same thing. It does negate their effects, but really the only effects you're going to want to be using is more so the Sofio to get that draw card, so you're not really that fussed about it. Alternatively as well, in the grind game, you can target an XYZ monster you control and you add one card attached to it to the hand. So again, if your opponent like Imperms and Machillis, and you're like, right, okay, well, Machillis is of no use to me, and when she overlays, she's going to lose her materials, I can activate this to get the Martha back to my hand, so I've got a follow-up guaranteed for the next turn. I've got the one Armament. Now, not a lot of people like this. I actually really do like this. So you pay 800 life points to then target an Exosystem monster you control, and you special summon an Exosystem monster XYZ from your extra deck with a different name than that card you control by using that target as material. It's treated as an XYZ summon, and you transfer its materials to that monster. You can only activate one Armament per turn, and you can only activate this card during your opponent's turn unless your opponent controls a monster specialed from the graveyard. So that's absolutely fine, because it's just one of the ones where if your opponent's like, right, okay, well, I'm going to imperm your monster so that when I move stuff from the graveyard, you don't get to trigger and go into an Exosister, and you're like, okay, cool, flip an Armament anyway and do the same thing. One cool buy, because you kind of want to protect yourself. Martha does get ashed. She is a massive ash bait. So does Aritama, so you want to make sure you're able to protect it where at all possible. Now, the next one that I play is Triple Gozen Match in the main. This can very easily be D-Shifter. D-Shifter arguably has a bit more of a balance because it can be used if you go first or second. Whereas what I like about Gozen Match is if you go first, depending on your local environment and depending on the format, this can be an absolute blowout, especially when you're backing this up with something like a Magnificat that's going to allow you to go into a Machillis, giving you the ability for a double banish. So double banish plus Gozen is very, very powerful. But again, that really does come down to your local environment, whether Shifter's going to be better or not, if Shifter survives the ban list. And if you don't want to play Gozen Match again, you can go for more board breakers if you want to. We're then going for 2 Vadis and 2 Returnia. I do sometimes like 3 Vadis. Again, it really kind of comes down to playstyle and preference. But 2 and 2 is like the ideal ratio, and it's up to you whether you want to go 3 and 2. I wouldn't go for a 3 and 3. I feel that can get a little bit too cloggy, but they're both incredibly powerful. What I like about Vadis is Vadis doesn't require something else to happen. And what I mean by that is, Vadis, you pay 800 life points, you choose an Exosystem monster from your deck, and then take one other Exosystem monster from the deck that is mentioned on it, and special summon both. Shuffle them into the deck during the end phase, and the rest of the turn after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except Exosisters. That's not an issue at all, because the idea is that when you're activating this to get your 2 Exosisters to the board, you're making sure that they're in a position to either be XYZ'd with Returnia, or they're going to have the ability that your opponent is about to move something from the graveyard. Now, what I mean about Returnia needing something else to happen is if all monsters you control are Exosisters, so straight away if they get rid of your monsters, you're in a bit of trouble. You pay 800 life points, you target a card your opponent controls or in their graveyard and banish it, and then you get to apply one of the following effects. Immediately after this effect resolves, XYZ summon an Exosister XYZ using monsters you control, so you're going to need to have at least 2 Exosisters on the board to do that. And alternatively, if you have XYZ summoned this turn, you get to non-target banish one card your opponent controls. That's the one you're going to want to be going for more times than not, but to get the benefit of both of these effects, the first one is, or the clause is, you need to have at least Exosisters or all Exosisters. So you need to make sure that that's why the Saritama and Akitama and Saritama are so good, is because even if they do get left on the field, they'll return to your hand during the end phase, which you shouldn't be leaving on the field anyway, but that's just something to note. So it requires you to only have Exosisters, a little bit restrictive, and then you need to have the two Exosisters to XYZ. If you don't have that, you can't activate it. And if you have an XYZ summon this turn, you can't banish. So it can become a little bit more dead consistently than Vadis, because Vadis can pretty much be activated no matter what the game state is. But again, can get ashed, can't get ashed. So, you know, give and take. That's it for the main deck. So, like I said, everything here was pretty much been reprinted or printed recently. So, Ash Blossoms came in a structure deck, Imperms came in a structure deck, Droll got reprinted as a rare in, I believe it was, not Amazing Collectors, but the one before with the runics in it. So all of that is very easily accessible. Moving on to the extra deck, another card that was recently reprinted in the Megatins is Michaelis. So Michaelis is your main one. This is the one you're going to be maxing out on, and it has the effect as follows. It's generic rank 4, so that's why the Sakitama and Aritama work so well. It can't be destroyed by battle with a monster special from the graveyard, and you get to use each of the following effects once per turn. If you control this card that was Exorcist on this turn, using an Exosister monster as material, so that's very important. If you make this with Sakitama and Aritama, it's not going to get that effect. You need to make sure you summon it with Aritama and then a sister in order to gain its quick effect. You get to target one card your opponent controls or in their graveyard and banish it. You can detach one material from this card to add an Exosister spell or trap from your deck to the hand. So that's how you're going to get into Returnia, Vadis, or Pax, depending on what you need. Probably the best upgrade for the Exosisters was Casper. I really, really like this card. It's usually that you'll either go for Michaelis first or Casper. Sometimes it will be Casper if you haven't got Martha, and Michaelis if you have. So Casper again cannot be destroyed by battle with a monster special from the graveyard. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. If it is XYZ summoned using an Exosister monster this turn, neither player can special summon monsters from the graveyard for the rest of the turn, and you can detach a material to add an Exosister monster from your deck to the hand. Then, of course, this is the one card you are going to need to pay a little bit of money for. But the way I see it is if you're paying £30 for the entire deck and then 90% of the extra deck, you can afford to spend at least £15 to get one of these, if not paying £30 to get both of these. If you have a good friend, they might be able to hook you up a little bit cheaper, but that will make this deck relatively around the £50 to £60, which works out about $80 in a competitive standpoint. We've already seen previously what this format, what Exorcist can do this format. Obviously, you need to be a very good pilot to take it to the max. But in the next format, when the ban list gets shifted up, this deck can definitely be a sleeper that can cause a lot of issues. So what makes Magnificat so good? It requires 2 rank 4 Exosisters, which is very easy with your Michaelis and your Casper. And going into this, you use both of those, and then you gain these effects. It can make a second attack during each battle phase. Very, very nice. Once per turn, quick effect, detach material from this card, banish, non-target, one card your opponent controls. And when your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, you can return an XYZ monster you own attached to this card to the extra deck, and then you get to special summon that monster from your extra deck using this card you control as material. So what makes that so good is your Magnificat can become a Casper or a Michaelis during your opponent's turn, and obviously you use Magnificent's effect to banish a card your opponent controls. You then tag it out into Michaelis. Michaelis banishes another card as well, and then if you've got Returnia, you're banishing a third card. Absolutely insane. We are then playing 2 as Sofio. So again, generic rank 4, can't be destroyed by activated effects of monsters special from the graveyard. So you've got to remember is Michaelis and Casper is battle. Sofio and Jabrain are effects from the graveyard. So your Sofio, what I really like about this one is if it's summoned the turn with a Exosister as material, neither player can activate card effects in the graveyard. Very nice. And you get to detach one material from this card, then target a monster your opponent controls and return it to the hand. Jabrain is actually your OTK enabler because with Magnificat on the board, it can attack twice at 2800 base. Jabrain gives the ability that you can detach a material and the rest of the turn, all XYZ monsters you control gain 800 attack. So Magnificat becomes a base of 36 twice, and Jabrain goes up to a 22. If you control this card that was XYZ summoned this turn using an Sister as material, you can target an effect monster your opponent controls and negate its effects until the end of the turn. Then we lean into the generic XYZs and generic links. Now, ideally, you don't want to be summoning these at all, where possible, because you want to be able to utilize Martha, but it's one of them times where Martha, you don't see Martha, it becomes ineffective, or you've been hand trapped to death, so you go for Baguska. They've built up an incredibly strong board, but you've been able to negate it, and you just need to clear it off in Exoton Night. It's coming close to time. You've already paid some life points yourselves, and you need to either salvage the draw or go for the win with Cowboy. And the last 2 ones is Lila, just to boost all of your XYZs because they're all going to be light by 500. And of course a Donna just to deal with pesky floodgates that might be causing you an issue. Now, like you've seen, yes, we do XYZ lock ourselves with the overlay, but you've also got the ability of Aritama and Sakitama. So it's one of them ones where it's like, right, okay, well, I need to buff all my monsters. I don't have access to Martha, but I do have access to Stella plus another Exosister and the Sakitama and Aritama. So I want to try and make my play forward. So now I'm going to show you the quadruple banish combo from one card. That's how insane this is. So I'm going to reset the board state and then show you that exact play. So the combo starts off with this little fella right here, Aritama. Now the issue with this is it does get stopped with every hand trap under the sun, but you still have ways to extend and push further forward should you need to, or you hard open a Sakitama and then you use its effect anyway to bait out an interruption from your opponent. Regardless, you normal summon the Aritama, you use this effect to search you out a fairy spirit, and that's of course going to be Sakitama. You're then going to use Sakitama's effect to normal summon it, again not special summoning, so you still get to use Martha. And then you're going to overlay Sakitama and Aritama and go into Casper. You're then going to use Casper's effect. Now keeping in mind it's only the quick effect that you don't get if you don't have it as don't have an Exosister as material. You'll still get its normal effect to detach and search, and of course you're going to go for Martha. Now because we control either no monsters or only XYZs, very easily done, you can use Martha's effect to special summon her from the hand and then special summon an Elise from the deck. You're then going to get the ability of overlaying these two and going into a Michaelis. You can then use Michaelis' effect to detach, and this will then allow you to search out your Returnia, which is going to set up 2 banishes itself. You're then going to overlay your Michaelis and your Casper, and you're going to go into your Magnificat. So as it currently stands, what you have is during your opponent's turn, you can use Magnificat's effect to detach your material, making sure you detach the Casper unless you want to shut off the graveyard. That's entirely up to you. This is then going to allow you to banish 1 card your opponent controls. Then when they activate another effect, you can use the effect of Magnificat again to change her into Michaelis. Michaelis, because it was summoned this turn, will then have the effect to detach your material to banish another card. And then you'll be able to activate Returnia. So again, all monsters we control are Exosisters. So you get to target a card your opponent controls or in the graveyard and banish it. And then you can either XYZ, so if you had a Vadis, you could go from there. Or in this scenario, you get to banish 1 card your opponent controls non-target. So you've had 2 target banishes, 2 non-target banishes, and you have caused your opponent a lot of pain because they now only have 2 more cards to play with if they didn't use any of those previously and you've kind of let them slide. So that was it for the 2-card combo. That was it for the entire Exosister profile. Like I said, I feel that this deck is incredibly powerful and very, very good. So it's definitely one of the ones that you need to be looking at. It does have its moments, like it will come in and out of a format. And I think what's really good about that is because it comes in and out of a format, it's not like a deck that says, right, you have to hit a card within it. I'm unfair and unbalanced. I feel that it's a very balanced deck. And what Martha added way back when is the fact that you no longer needed to rely on your opponent to do something in order to gain your XYZs during their turn, like move a card from the graveyard. It's now become one of the ones where you can build your board of your most powerful XYZs anyway, and if you do have Vadis or you have other Exosisters on the board, it does then deter your opponent from moving stuff from the graveyard. Obviously it becomes a little bit more powerful if the format becomes moving everything from the graveyard or your locals is definitely stuck on doing stuff like that. But for now, it's still an incredibly powerful deck, very, very good at control. And then you need to adapt it if you feel you need to go second, break more boards, you name it. And thanks to the reprints in the Megatins, it is relatively cheap. And biting the bullet of just paying £15 for at least 1 Magnificat, if not 2, is definitely worth it. Because then you're still paying the same amount as you would do buying an entire structure deck and then upgrading that structure deck to get it or make it as competitive as possible. Anyway, I hope you found this informative and giving you a nice little breakdown of Exosisters if you are looking to buy them thanks to the reprints in the Megatins. I definitely feel that they can compete going forward, and the new ban list will probably shake it up so that it can be even more of an underdog road deck that will do incredibly well. Anyway, for now, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. As absolutely always, stay safe and of course, happy dueling.